take the time to share with you that Dads Against Discrimination is a charity, a non-profit tax-exempt charity, and we would like to be your charity of choice. So if you guys are ever considering a charity of choice, make sure that Dads has been given its due consideration. The only charity out there that specifies fathers for help. No other charity specifies fathers. And of course you know that we as fathers go through some of the most traumatic issues that can happen socially. And we're at the kind of the downside of all of this stuff when it comes to domestic relations courts. Of course, I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. The issues of child support, custody, and visitation seem to weigh heavily on us. And there are no crisis lines other than dads to jump to and to get an opinion from, or to get a referral to an attorney from. We're it. So we need to be your charity of choice. We've got plenty of program, and I'm not sure whether we're going to have enough time as I look at the hour, and we're closing in on half past the hour here, or a little bit beyond. I understand we have another phone call. If we can make it short, sweet, and simple, let's take another phone call. You got a call to put forward? Hello, caller. Okay, no call. All right, I want to share a little bit of information about a guy with you from Florida. Here's a father who's a stay-at-home father, and he went through the court system. The trial court awarded him custody. The mother won custody back in the Court of Appeals, and guess what? It's probably going to go to the Supreme Court of the state of Florida. We've got some footage now. This was played up two or three times on national television. So I want you to take a look at this father who is hanging in. He has won custody once. There's some politics in the game, as usual, where his wife, his now ex-wife, has some experience with the court system and played the appeal card and won out. Well, she knew what she was doing. Let's roll tape on this Florida father who's fighting for his kids.
Says he is a stay-at-home father as nurturing as any mother, and proud of it. So you were Mr. Mom?
A lot of people referred to me that way, yes.
As a Mr. Mom, Bob says he put his architect career on hold so his wife could put in 60-plus hour weeks as a partner in a top Miami law firm. He says for 7 years, he's been the one at home with 2 daughters, tending to scraped knees and brownie troops. Who volunteered at school?
I did.
Who picked the girls up from school every day?
I would. Occasionally, the housekeeper would.
And who was the one who took them to all their different activities?
Typically me.
And when his marriage hit the rocks, Bob says he wanted to continue that full-time job raising his daughters, now 10 and 13, girls whose names and faces were not revealing to protect their privacy.
I have been the active parent. I've nurtured them since they were very, very little.
Did you want to work?
I consider what I was doing was work. I just didn't get a paycheck for it.
You've heard that before, except usually it's a stay-at-home mom in a contentious divorce case telling the court why she's entitled to something more from her rich, high-powered husband. Bob argues he's no different from all those full-time housewives who win custody of their kids. And in a country where most mothers now work and a growing number of fathers, either by choice or necessity, stay at home, Bob Young has found himself at the center of a highly charged debate over who should get the kids and why.
Is his case, as Bob contends, a long overdue example of the courts catching up with the times, breaking old stereotypes and new legal ground? Is it a highly publicized test of gender-blind justice?
This decision can benefit the mothers as well as the fathers. It depends on who the caregiver is and who the nurturing parent is.
Or is it, as women's advocates and Bob's ex-wife Alice Hector see it, sending an ominous message to mothers trying to juggle their job and their family?
What it does really is punish women for working with an assumption that if you work, you can't be a good mother.
It all began in 1979 in New Mexico, where Bob Young and Alice Hector met. He was starting up a small architectural design and construction business. She was a low-paid public defender, 7 years his senior, who was already working long hours while raising 2 children from a previous marriage.
She was good with them. I admired that. She was a good person.
They married, and a few years later decided to have children of their own.
So how hands-on were you as a father from the beginning?
Pretty hands-on.
How about Alice?
She was hands-on too, when she was available.
What does that mean?
Her schedule is very demanding.
A schedule he claimed only got more demanding with time. When his business faltered in the late 80s, she landed a high-paying, high-powered job at a law firm in her hometown of Miami. So Bob says he was willing to do what women have traditionally done for their husbands, pack up the kids and follow the breadwinner to a job.
Would you have liked her to take a job that wouldn't have been as demanding, fewer hours, and also less pay?
Not necessarily, because I was there for our children, which enabled her, in my mind, without sacrificing the well-being of the children, to strive for and attain the goals that she did.
But over time, both say they grew apart. After 12 years of marriage, she asked for a divorce. He didn't leave the house. Instead, Bob says he moved into a separate bedroom and continued in what he describes as his role of primary caretaker until the first round in court got underway 3 years ago.
The big question was, with whom would the girls live, Alice or Bob? Like most other states in the country, Florida has adopted gender-neutral custody standards. Mothers no longer get automatic preference over fathers. Rather, the court looks at who has had the primary responsibility for taking care of the kids and tries to preserve that arrangement if it's considered in the children's best interest.
To Bob, the answer seemed obvious. He conceded to the court that his wife usually got the girls ready for school in the morning and put them to bed at night. But in between, he said, she was busy climbing the corporate ladder. She earned and controlled the annual household income, an estimated $300,000, regularly worked 60 to 70-hour weeks, and one year traveled 100 days on business. None of which she could have done, he says, without his help at home.
Was there an explicit understanding between the two of you that she would go work long hours and bring home money to support the family, and that you would be the one to stay home and take care of the house and kids?
Yes, but in staying home, I did a lot more than just that.
Now go to second. Go to second.
Although Alice denied having that agreement, several witnesses painted Bob as an unusually involved father.
Right here, Andy.
One mother testified he was one of the most active parents in the Brownie group and said she accepted him as a mom.
That was a good hit. Give me 5.
A teacher said it was rare to see a dad as involved as Bob at school. And a friend who coached soccer said he viewed him as the caregiver on a daily basis.
Good going.
The case only got tougher when the court-appointed guardian for the children told the judge not only was Bob Young a phenomenal father, Alice Hector was an exceptional mother.
These are 2 terrific young kids. They're beautiful kids. They're extremely well-adjusted.
What does that say about their parents?
It says that their parents have been doing something very right for a long time.
The parents automatically shared legal responsibility for their daughters, but were fighting over what's called residential custody. Since both wanted the girls full-time, the decision on where the girls should live fell to the judge. Despite the career Bob Young says he gave up, despite how he said he took care of the kids and the house, the judge ruled that the children should live with their mother. Young got $18,000 in alimony and legal fees, 1 day to move out of his home, and a question from the judge. When the judge said to you, why don't you just go get a job, what was your reaction to that?
The best job title I've ever had was the title of dad. And I don't understand why that's being degraded and I'm supposed to be less of a man because I did that.
Bob's attorney, Ellen Lyons, appealed the ruling as sex discrimination at its worst.
Bob was catapulted out of the house in 24 hours. He was given almost no income. This is a 14-year marriage. He came away with only a few $1,000s. If he were a woman, this would have never happened. If he were a woman, he would have those kids in a heartbeat.
Okay, that's a story out of Florida. So far during this program, we've talked about a story out of Montana where an attorney by the name of Dana Christian filed a lawsuit against the system, including the judge, claiming bias. Now, I'm told that someone did not get the number, and perhaps we should give that number out again. That's area code 406 for Dana Christian, 406-222-5812. He's an attorney. He practices law out of his home. His office and his home are one and the same, in a place called Livingston, Montana. Please give Dana Christian a call and let him know that you support him. Furthermore, if you have an attorney and you wish to proceed along those particular lines, check with your attorney to find out whether it's appropriate for you or not. It's part of the system. You are allowed to ask that a judge be removed. We normally refer to it as affidaviting the judge, where you file an affidavit of judicial prejudice or bias. And there's a procedure for that in the law books. Furthermore, there is the procedure of doing a recall. I believe it would hold true if you attempted a recall of a judge, where the judge would not be performing the functions that you thought the judge should be performing. Judicial recall. Check it out, see if it works for you. If you want some information about the recall, there are booklets available at the state, Secretary of State's office in Salem. They have those available in the elections department. Let me give you a little bit of information about DADS again. Our phone number is area code 503-222-1111. A lot of this information we have on our website. Yes, we have a website. The website is www.dadsusa.com, and .dadsusa is all together, DADSUSA.com. We have a website. You can email us, and we can perhaps go back and forth on the web too. Now, I admit that I get more phone calls, more emails, and more everything than I can handle, and unfortunately I can't respond to all of them. There's another story that made its way in the news in the past month or so, a story about a Philadelphia father. The story also included not only the Philadelphia father, but a Portland father and a Columbus father. The common issue there was the fact that these three guys were going through a domestic relations suit, divorce, and these three guys had an issue about paternity when they were going through this divorce. The story was originally written in the Wall Street Journal, and yes, DADS Against Discrimination was quoted in the Wall Street Journal. I believe it was June 2nd of 1999, and the article appeared on page B1 in that June 2nd, 1999 Wall Street Journal newspaper. The issues that surrounded these guys were very much the same in that, did you know, guys, when you go through a divorce, if you marry a woman, you go through divorce, it is presumed by state law that you are the father of the children that this woman has. Let me repeat that. When you go through a divorce, you are presumed to be the father that of all of the children that this woman has. And some guys are finding that that is another bias point in the law. Of course, this being 1999, we know that some women sleep around and sleep around a lot. And some of these women who sleep around and sleep around a lot have children that has nothing to do with the man that she's married to. So in essence, she may be having other men's children. Well, Oregon law, like the rest of the 50 states, presumes that those children are yours. That's the convenience of the marriage license and the marriage certificate. You gentlemen, you husbands, are presumed to be the fathers. And we get questions on that quite a bit, and I try to come up with answers. Of course, this grew out of common law years ago, centuries